So as Sally said, this is the gift that keeps on giving, for better or for worse. I hope you think it's for better. Thank you all for coming in. And as I said in all of the prior sessions, a big thank you to Sally Benson and Lynn Orr and Sunny Wang and Lee Johnson at Precourt. Thank you to the folks at Woods and to the folks at the Steiger Taylor Center who made this possible. So let me just ask, how many of you were at some of the prior sessions that we did in the spring? Okay, so about half of you. Well, thank you for showing up again. And for those of you who weren't, let me just do a quick bit of a recap. First of all, let me introduce Dr. Shisen Xu, who is head of the Clean Energy Research Institute at China Huaneng Group. As you probably all know because you're here, China Huaneng Group is the largest power producer in China and the second largest power producer in the world. It is 3 times as large as the largest U.S. power producer, to give you some sense of the spectrum. And China Huaneng was number 246 in 2012, was 246 on the Fortune 500, up from 276 1 year before. So someone here can figure out that growth rate, but I dare say it's better than 10%. So the situation is obviously that Huaneng and China, Huaneng's energy use and China's energy use are growing quite quickly, and we're going to get into this in detail in a second. I just want to frame this for a couple of minutes, and then I promise we will get into a discussion. But for those of you who weren't here, the premise of this whole series, Rising Power, is pretty simple. It's essentially twofold, that what China does on energy over the next many years is more important than what anyone else in the world does on energy, including the United States. And we can debate the niceties of that, but just the numbers sort of tell that story. And number two, what China is doing on energy may surprise you. And in particular, and we're going to get into this discussion today, for those of you who think that the United States comes up with all the technology and China simply builds cheap stuff, I think you may leave this room at least asking questions about the validity of that assumption. So what I want to do before we actually get into questions is I want to show a couple of slides about China just to get everyone on the same page. And then we're going to enforce a no-slide rule, which Dr. Xu and I have talked about at great length, but he's been really indulgent in agreeing to. Just a couple quick facts. 80% of power in China, of electricity in China, comes from coal. The Chinese China is building coal-fired power plants at the rate of 1 about every 2 or 3 weeks. The Chinese government has progressively announced tougher restrictions on coal-fired emissions, which we will get into. In fact, some recent announcements tightening those restrictions. And I just want to say one other thing, that the term clean coal is a controversial term and a somewhat broad term. So you will know that in the United States, there's a big political debate about whether clean coal is an oxymoron. That is to say, whether coal can't be clean. And I hope that those of you who feel, well, whatever side of that you feel you're on, I hope you'll raise your hand and your voice at the end of this. Number two, as we're going to talk about here, clean coal is a term that encompasses a lot of different technologies, from technologies that limit the sort of emissions that make you cough and that cause acid rain, all the way through to carbon capture and storage. Huaneng is working and has been working on all of these, and we're going to get into that kind of detail. Let me just show a couple slides and then we'll talk. How do I, oh, I forgot the clicker. So just by way of a sort of introduction, is it the red thing that I press? To go forward? No, the other one. There we go. Okay, so this is just a little marketing, right? This is the last series that we did. This is the springtime series, as Sally said. You can see all these things online. Okay, there's Shanghai. So this is why we're here today talking about coal in China, because a lot of what you see there is pollution from coal of many sorts: coal-fired power plants, coal in industry, coal burned in homes to produce heat. This is just a shot I shot in Beijing. Those of you who have spent time in Beijing will notice that people wearing masks like that is not unusual. In fact, there's something of a fashion accessory, as people kind of wear them with different, I'm not joking actually, with just different patterns because they're so pervasive. Okay, a couple quick slides. So those of you who have been here before, you'll recognize this, but I just want everyone to see this. So this is not my information. This is from the International Energy Agency, which is essentially conventional wisdom on global energy. What does this say? This is CO2 emissions from energy in 2010, effectively now, and the IEA's projection of 2035. So what does this tell you? This basically tells you, first of all, that China has surpassed the United States as of now, and that the OECD countries, the Western countries, are expected to reduce their emissions over the next 25 years. China and India particularly, but look particularly at China, are expected to increase theirs by a long shot. And the vast majority of increase in emissions is going to come not from where we are sitting, but from where Dr. Xu sits. Okay, we're going to skip that one. So coal, king coal. So again, this is from the IEA. What does this tell you? This essentially is the similar story, but with coal. You see the red is coal-fired power generation in terawatt hours by country or region. And so you see China has surpassed the United States. But the really important thing, I think, here is the gray. That is the expected change between 2010 and 2035. And so what do you see? You see expected coal-fired power generation is going to decline in the US and the EU and the rest of the developed world. And you see it's going to increase by that amount in China. And in fact, if you look, it's going to increase in China by much more than it's expected to decrease elsewhere. Just, again, a point of the importance of this. Nuclear, we may talk about nuclear here, and I just want you to see, just look at the China bar. China has essentially no nuclear now. Look what China is expected to have in 2035. So if you want to engage in a discussion about nuclear in the world, I would suggest to you that it's largely a discussion about China. Lastly, this is just a pie chart of China's electricity production now and in 2035, and what you'll see, and Dr. Xu will get into this, but 80% of electricity production is, again, this is not transportation, just electricity, is from fossil fuels. The lion's share of that, 80% of that, the lion's share of that is coal, and it's expected to decline, but still to remain the largest portion. Okay, enough slides. Thank you. And now, Dr. Xu, please, why don't you sit down and we'll actually have a discussion.
Yeah. So I think I suggest maybe connecting my computer.
Oh, I don't think we.
Maybe show some slides.
I'll tell you what. We'll see how this goes, and then we'll do that if we have time. So I've introduced Dr. Xu, and what I want to do is I guess I want to ask a very basic question first, which is why is China putting so much effort into coal? And the reason I ask the question is there are a lot of people on this campus, in this country, perhaps in this room, who think that coal is yesterday's technology. It's not a technology that we ought to be focusing on. Yeah. Why are you spending your career on it? Why is China spending so much time on it?
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So even I do not agree in the IEA is the data. Yeah, so maybe large for the China situation.
What do you disagree with about the data?
Yeah, so I think the CO2 emission and the coal consumption, I think is better. So, but the trend is right. So I think, as you know, the coal is the main resource in China, and by the end of last year, so maybe 80% of the electricity from the coal. And even the installed capacity just accounts for 70%. So, but the generation electricity is accounts for 80%. So that means the renewable just installed the 70%, but the generation electricity accounts for just 20%. So we think the coal is very important for China and for the continued development. So.
Just to flesh that out a little bit, let's talk for a quick second about nuclear and about gas, natural gas in China. There's quite a lot of discussion about both of those technologies, the development of both of those in China. Yes. So how significant do you see nuclear and natural gas becoming in China in the next 10 years and then the next 20?
Yes. So in my mind, so every Western country, development country, the roads is from the coal to natural gas, but there is no natural gas in China, so Even the Germany and the U.S. Does like the nuclear to develop the nuclear, but China there is no other selection, good selection. There is no natural gas, so we want to generate the electricity at the low efficiency. So the Chinese government want to develop the nuclear power, and also to develop the natural gas, but the transportation and the medicine cooking, Chinese cooking needs much more natural gas. So there is no natural gas to be used to power plant. So
your expectation is that for the next at least 10 or 15 years,
yes,
clearly the majority of baseload power supply in China is going to come from coal, continue to come from coal, and presumably far beyond that.
Yeah, so we think the next 20 years or 30 years, so maybe the percentage electricity from coal will be decreased to the 60 or 65%.
From about 80 now.
Sorry?
From about 80 now to about 60 or 65%.
Yes. Okay. And China government want to promote the renewable power development, the hydropower, wind power, and solar power. Yes.
Tell me, before we get into the details of what Huaneng is doing on coal, what is the hardest thing about cleaning up coal-fired power generation? Is it technological? Is it political? Is it economic? What's the hardest thing?
For the clean coal?
Yeah.
Clean coal is I think that there is the two barriers for the development of clean coal technology. So one is the coal consumption control. So the Chinese government. So I do not agree with the IEA's data. So because this year, next year, the Chinese government controls the coal consumption, and we are to close the many power plant in Beijing and in Shanghai. So every coal power plant will be closed.
Just to be clear, what you're saying is every coal-fired power plant in the city of Beijing and in Shanghai will be closed down and shifted to natural gas?
Shifted to maybe to transmission the electricity from the western area, from the renewable or other natural gas power plants. So, and the second barrier, I think, is the pollution. So as you just mentioned, the Shanghai and the Beijing having pollution. So the government pay more attention to the how to reduce the pollution. But the economical, I think, no problem. So because the price of the electricity from the coal-fired power plant is cheaper than the natural gas and then the wind power, and less than solar power.
So we were going to get into this later, but because you raised it now, let's get into it now. Let's just break down the economics. We had a discussion about this earlier in the day. Explain to us what the price, let's say in Beijing, of electricity from a coal-fired power plant is, and how does that and then if you add carbon capture to that, what would that do to the price? And how does that compare to other technologies? So what is the price of coal-fired electricity in Beijing today?
Yeah, so the price, the electricity price system is in China is a big difference from U.S. So the every well has a different price, and every fuel is different price.
Obviously,
So,
price is set by the government,
Yeah.
but they're different around in different parts of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but in Beijing and in Tianjin area, so there are about the price COE is cost of electricity about 40 cents RMB.
40 RMB cents.
Per kilowatt hour.
About
So-
6 US cents.
Yes, and but if the coal power plant with the CCS, so there's no sequestration situation in Beijing. So maybe if we installed the CCS system in the Western country, so I think maybe plus the COE will increase the 50%.
50%. So
Maybe the 60 cents RMB.
So about a dime,
Okay.
about 10 cents US.
Yes. So I think that is a maximum.
And how does
I
that?
think that maybe less than 60 cents RMB.
Okay, and so we'll get in a minute to how you can be confident of those sorts of prices and the details of the CCS technology that Huaneng's working on. But if you take that 10 cents, let's assume that that's what CCS costs per kilowatt hour. How does that compare to wind? How does that compare to nuclear?
Nuclear, yeah. Wind power price is maybe average maybe 68 cents RMB.
So about
per
11
kilowatt.
cents US.
Yes. So the coal-fired power plant plus the CCS is similar with wind power now. So, but maybe the price electricity from the wind power maybe decreases from the, but
And nuclear?
solar power
Oh, go ahead.
and nuclear is very cheap, very cheap, maybe 20 or 30 cents RMB
Yeah.
per kilowatt hour. So
5 cents US.
Yeah, but the solar power PV and CSP is about 100 cents or 95 cents to 100 cents RMB per kilowatt.
So 18
hour.
cents US or
Yeah,
something.
so
And
the-
obviously, we're not getting into, in this discussion, this is very broad brush. We're not talking about, we're not distinguishing between base load and variable power when we're comparing coal on the one hand to wind and solar on the other. But it's just interesting to get a sense of at least Dr. Xu's view of the variable economics here. So I want to talk about, I want to kind of go back in time and have you walk us through the work that Huaneng has done over the years to try to clean up coal-fired power emissions. And let me ask, so how did you get into this business first? You went to Xi'an Jiaotong University.
Yes.
You got your PhD.
Yeah.
And did you then go directly into clean coal work at Huaneng?
Yes. I have 25 years for the coal gasification and the IGCC system and the CO2 capture. I joined involved the China first IGCC demonstration project. I'm in charge of the system design and gasification island development. So, and also in charge of the commissioning. So the first IGCC demonstration project in China
Last year,
operated last year.
So before we get to that, I want to go back farther in time, and that is, if you walk back to when you joined the company, which was about 1990, yeah?
Yeah.
Roughly 1990. What were Huaneng's coal-fired power plants like then? How did they compare to today's coal-fired power plants that you're building? Forget CCS for a minute. Just talk about pulverized coal-fired power.
Yes.
Talk about efficiency, size. How did they desulfurization technology or the lack of that?
Yes.
What were those plants like back then? What was the fleet like?
Okay. Yes. So China Huang Group. I will give the very brief information about China Huang Group. China Huang Group. The total capacity is about 134 gigawatts. Just mentioned the 80% from coal and 20% from the hydropower, wind power, and solar power. But the China Huang Group pay more attention to the clean coal technology, and China Huang Group built first supercritical units in China, but the technology imported from the U.S. combustion engineering company.
And this was when?
Yeah, in 1990. In 1990, and also to build first supercritical units, 600 megawatts units, uses the domestic technology in 2002 or 2004, and also to build the first 1,000 megawatts units, ultra supercritical units, but use the domestic technology.
So just to define terms, on the assumption that, well, we're not going to assume knowledge here, ultra supercritical versus supercritical versus critical versus subcritical, right? We've just sort of gone down in terms of measurements of efficiency of coal-fired power plants. So over time, obviously, the amount of coal that has to be burned in a coal-fired power plant to produce a given unit of electricity has declined as the efficiency of the plant has increased. Okay. Great. Sorry.
So the average the coal consumption per kilowatt hour is about 316 microgram per kilowatt hour. So this level is the lowest in the world. So if you calculate the coal-fired power plant, the coal consumption, so the China's the coal consumption is the lowest in the world. But if you calculate the total power system, so because there are much more coal-fired power plants in China.
And the reason that coal consumption per unit of energy output is the lowest in the world in China is because you have a very new fleet, given that you're building more and more coal-fired power plants to replace older ones and to add capacity, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So last 5 years, China Huang Group and other electrical power company closed the many small units, less than 200 megawatts, shut down. So and to rebuild the ultra supercritical and the supercritical. So the average coal consumption is very low. So and besides of the conventional coal-fired power plant, so the China Huang also to build the first IGCC demonstration project in China, and also
integrated coal gasification.
Yes.
Combined cycle, right?
Yes.
So just again to define terms, what we've been talking about, when we're talking here about CCS, largely what we're talking about is taking the carbon dioxide away post-combustion, after it's burned in the plant. And IGCC is pre-combustion, that is gasifying the coal before it's burned. A different technology, also with the end of reducing CO2 emissions.
Yes. Yeah. In 2002. The President Bush announced the Future Gen program. So, but in 2003, China Huang Group announced the Green Gen. So I joined the announcement letter. So read the draft letter. So, but we named our project the Green Gen. Green Gen means the near zero emission project.
IGCC.
The IGCC, based on the IGCC system. But now the the filter drain changed to the oxyfuel process. But our green gene also based on the IGCC process. So there is a three kind of the CO2 capture from the coal-fired power plant: the post-combustion, pre-combustion, and oxyfuel.
So let me walk you back before we get into carbon capture technologies, and let's just talk for a moment about the improvement in efficiency of combustion in coal-fired power plants. And you mentioned that the first, I think you said the first ultra-supercritical plant in China was built with non-Chinese technology. So explain to us, to what extent has that changed? How has that changed? That is, initially China using technology from the United States and Europe in building those plants, and increasingly China developing its own technology. And let's just keep this discussion to the efficiency, that is to more efficient power plant operations, more efficient combustion.
Yes.
To what extent is China developing its own technology?
Yes, so there is two routes. The one is to increase the degree, the steam pressure and the steam temperature to increase more than 700 degrees C. So there are about the same program, Europe and the US and Japan. The China governments, Chinese governments also conducted a program. Our group and our institute is the leader of this project. And to start the test facility. First step and the second step to build a demonstration. This is the conventional process, and the second process is also to develop the new the large scale and commercial scale IGCC, and based on the F class gas turbine and the H class gas turbine can get the 48 to 50%.
And if we talk though about the power plants that have been built today in China, the commercial scale, very large, supercritical and ultra supercritical conventional plants, to what extent are they being built with Chinese technology, and to what extent are they being built with American or European technology?
Yeah, so just we mentioned that in 1990, the China built the first supercritical units imported from the US, and other units from the Japan and the European. But now 2006, so we built the ultra supercritical as the every equipment manufactured in China.
It's all manufactured in China?
Yes.
And are you licensing technology from the United States and Europe, or is this now?
No. So, but the Chinese manufacturer collaborate with the other partner. So, but the IP is a share.
The IP is shared?
Share, yes.
So we hear a lot politically about the fights over intellectual property, the fights between American companies and Chinese companies, or European companies and Chinese companies on energy-related IP. How does that go in practice, the sharing of IP?
Yeah. So because there is I think that there is a later or the pro experience for the ultra supercritical for the overseas manufacturer. So for the Chinese market, so they need to collaborate with the manufacturer in China and to develop the advanced process and advanced equipment.
And when you share IP with companies in other countries, European countries or the United States, presumably they have IP that you want and you have IP that they want. To what extent, how do you erect those walls, and what will you share and what will you not share, and what will they share and not share?
Yeah, so but the conventional coal power plant, the equipment, so So the IP is just from the manufacturer in China with their overseas partner.
So there are no IP
Set
issues in
agreement.
conventional power plant technology?
Yes, but the IGCC except for the gas turbine, is import equipment from the Siemens and other process and equipments manufactured in China, and also the IP is owned by the Chinese organization.
So I want to talk about CCS now, because those of you who were here in the spring for the session that we had on coal heard, how many of you were here to hear David Moeller? So David Moeller is the Chief Technology Officer of Duke Energy, the biggest power company in the United States. And David was talking about an alliance that Duke has with Huaneng.
Yes.
And David Moeller and Xu Shisen know each other quite well. And David was talking about why Duke did this alliance with Huaneng. And what he said was that although the United States isn't building a lot of coal-fired power plants now, Duke believes that there will come a day when the U.S. will have to do that because it'll have to retrofit, it'll have to replace aging plants. And Duke has decided that it is going to be able to get cheaper technology, cheaper modern coal technology by working with Huaneng than by trying to develop that technology in the United States. Thus an alliance between these two companies. Yeah. So David Moeller said he looked around the world and they found that Huaneng's technology was markedly cheaper and better than the technologies that other companies were operating. Yeah. So this is the man behind the technology. So we're going to get into a discussion now about what that stuff is. So I first, let's just go back in time again and talk. So explain to us, Huaneng has two plants where it has been operating carbon capture, not storage, in China, in Beijing and Shanghai. Explain to us those plants.
Yes, so we built the 3,000 tons per year CO2 capture from the coal-fired power plant, the flue gas, in 2008. So
in Beijing.
In Beijing, and in 2009 we scale up our process and 40 times, and to build the a large scale facility in Shanghai. The capacity of the CO2 capture is about 120,000 tons per year. This facility is the largest CO2 capture from flue gas
in the world.
In the world, we and also the longest operation facility in the world. So the Beijing continue to operate the 5 years, and Shanghai continue the 4 years.
Now to be clear, even in the case of both of these plants, the amount of CO2 you're capturing is a very, very small percentage of the CO2 that's produced by each plant. Yeah. Nevertheless, even though it's a small percentage, they count as the largest such facilities in the world, the largest CCS projects, or at least CC projects in the world, not the S. Right.
CC. So yes. So after the capture and the concentration, the purity is about 99.7%. So we to the refinery and let the concentration reach to the 99.997% to can reach the food class and to sell in the Shanghai and the Beijing market.
And it's basically sold into the food industry. The CO2 is sold beer and soda and that sort of thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
we in charge of the design, construction, and commissioning and operation. So we do the many modification and retrofit and get the very important data from these two projects. So this is the reason that Duke Energy, David Moeller, likes our process. So So we have covered everything, the CO2 capture facility, and meet the many problems and solve the problems. So the Duke Energy want to collaborate with us to do a design for the based on the Gibson 3 power plant.
Gibson in Indiana.
Indiana, and to design 1 million tons per year CO2 capture.
So 10 times the Shanghai, the 10
yes.
times capture in Shanghai.
Yeah, 10 times.
So what were the problems?
Yes, but now we have finished the primary design last year, and we are to do the optimization.
You're talking about Gibson now, the Indiana plant. I'm asking
Gibson.
what were the problems in Beijing and Shanghai? What went wrong?
Yes, So as you know, we select the chemical absorbent process. So the MEA based on the Army as MEA. MEA is a conventional
amine technology.
Process in the chemical industry. So, but if you move this process from the chemical process to power system, so there is a big difference. There are many SOx, NOx, and particle, and mercury, and some this will impacts the absorption and regeneration.
I see.
And another very important factor is flue gas. Flue gas has much more water. So if you use chemical absorbent, so the concentration of the army changed. So we were to impact the performance.
In other words, when you take this technology and try to shift it from a chemical plant to a power plant, it's a much more complicated environment to make this work. Okay, let's talk. We're gonna in about 5 minutes invite you all to ask questions, but just a couple other things. Let's talk about the economics. Explain to us how much cheaper is Huaneng's CCS technology than others' CCS technology, and why are you able to do it less expensively?
Okay. Yes. So after the Beijing and the Shanghai demonstration, so we can get the $30 per ton CO2 capture. So that covers the capital cost and operation cost. But I think this data is level is low than the other process. So, but
how much lower?
How much low? Maybe the 20% or 30%.
Yeah, that's consistent with what I've heard too. 20 or 30% cheaper at Huaneng.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And how can you do that? Why are you able to do it less expensively?
Yes. So, but one is the process design. Integrated with the power system. This is very important. So because the way we have many years the power system design and the operation commissioning, so we know how to use the low temperature steam and the low pressure heat.
In other words, is your point that because you have operated these two projects in Beijing and Shanghai, you've learned by doing, you've optimized that process, and therefore you can reduce the cost below what? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another point to develop the new solvent based on the power plant, the flue gas.
And the solvent is what pulls the CO2 out of the flue gas, what captures it. Okay.
Yes,
and you've done refinements of that solvent.
Yeah. Another the third point is I think so we have finished the two demonstration projects, so we can control the short time, the construction short time. So this is very important for project. Yeah.
And what about how important are lower labor rates in China as compared to labor rates elsewhere in the world? How important is that to what you're to the lower price at Huaneng?
Yeah, yes. I think that maybe the labor cost. I think that is maybe half or 50 or 60%. I think
in China.
So, but the short term construction is more important.
More important than labor rates.
Yes,
So you were explaining something to me when we were talking earlier today, which was fascinating, I thought, which was the comparison of the costs of the Shanghai project that you've described, Huaneng Shanghai project, to the comparison of the costs of another project that we heard about when David Moeller was here, which was not David's company, but American Electric Power's Mountaineer project.
Mountaineer.
So Mountaineer is a large carbon capture and storage experiment in West Virginia, in which AEP, American Electric Power, drilled a big hole in the ground to inject into the ground CO2 that it had captured from a power plant nearby. And you did some math about what Shanghai cost you and what Mountaineer cost AEP. Just walk us through those numbers.
Yes, so a few years ago, so we signed MOU with between our group and the AEP, and to do the comparison of these two projects, Shanghai and Mountaineer project. So just for the CO2 capture. So because the Mountaineer with the storage, with the CO2 storage, so separate the storage cost. So just to compress the CO2 capture. So our cost is 1/3 or less than half, less than 50%. So
did everyone get that?
maybe
Huaneng's cost
Yes.
for essentially comparable technology on a comparably sized project, just for carbon capture, not the storage part, Huaneng figures is 1/3 to half the cost in the United States for American Electric Power, which is the second largest coal-fired power, or the second largest company.
Yeah,
This
is the reason. So the AEP want to scale up the Mountaineer. So they had the original plan to build 1 million tons per year CO2 capture in the Mountaineer. So, but they want to collaborate with us, also us to design. But the project stop. So
why did it stop?
I don't know. So maybe need money.
I think one of the things the AEP has said is that it stopped because with the lack of movement in Washington toward carbon regulation, AEP no longer felt that it was really necessary for it to pursue that sort of thing.
So this is the reason we pay more attention to the whole process.
Let me just ask one other question, and then we'll really open it up. And that is, and we're not going to do justice to this question because I think it's fascinating in terms of what Huaneng's future strategy is. But Huaneng is operating not just in China, but increasingly outside of China, increasingly in the United States. And so over the past few years, Huaneng has inked deals with a number of companies in the United States, some large like Duke, some very small that are selling particular technology and want to deploy it. And I want to ask you, let's just talk for a second about one of them, which is the Texas Clean Energy Project. So this is a quite large carbon capture project at a coal-fired power plant in Texas that's under construction by a company called Summit. So explain what Huaneng's role in that is, and more broadly, what China's role in that project is.
Yes. So we think our IGCC. So you mentioned the Summit Power, the Texas project, TCEP.
Yeah, Texas Clean Energy Partners.
TCEP is funded by DOE. No, gives some funding.
They gave money,
They gave money from DOE. So this project is the polar generation. It's IGCC combined with the chemical production, and also with the CO2 capture from pre-combustion CO2 capture. So, But I think that the project has benefits from the power generation has a good economical. So in China, we want to do the power generation, the IGCC with some chemical production combined.
So you capture the CO2. You don't simply produce power and capture the CO2, but you actually turn the CO2 into something useful, into a techno. Yeah.
Yes.
And so what is Huaneng doing on the Texas Clean Energy Project? What is Huaneng's role?
Involved the taxi project? Yes. So we signed MOU with Summit Power, and because Summit Power has not the experience for the IGCC and the CCS experience. So our IGCC process is similar with the TCEP, the dry feed gasification, the Siemens gas turbine, and also the pre-combustion CO2 capture. So it's similar with our Tianjin project, and so we will collaborate with Summit Power to do the technical support.
So they're essentially hiring you as technological consultants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Consultants.
Yeah.
Yes.
I see. Interesting. Yes. Okay.
Yes,
Okay, good. So we've got maybe 10, 12 minutes left. So who has some questions? If no one has questions, it's been an absolute failure. Right here. Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, I guess I have a question about CCS and why you see it as...
Can everyone hear? No. Can you speak up, please?
Yeah, sure. I guess why is CCS a worthwhile thing to invest in, given its uncertainty, as opposed to like other means, like better pollution controls or, more like supercritical coal plants or something?
So let me just take moderator's privilege and just repeat the question. The question is, why invest in carbon capture and storage, given what you described as the technological uncertainty of it, and why not put your money into sort of more proven technologies? Yeah? Okay. Why invest in carbon capture and storage?
So the China Huang Group?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, yeah. So because as our mentioned before, so there is about 80% coal-fired power plant, and also we the coal-fired power plant accounts for the maybe much than 70% in the near future. So the China Huaneng Groups will, if the control the CO2 emission, so the China Huaneng Group made the big problem. So we want to develop the CO2 capture technology and to do the demonstration project, and this is the one point. So second point is the government want to do the demonstration. As you know, the China Huang Group is owned by government, so we also and is the largest electric power company. So the big brother, So we want to do the future technology and the future demonstration.
Other questions? Thanks. Right here, please.
Thank you again. So we've heard a lot about the energy, kind of the upstream energy generation side of China's energy. I was curious on what China's distribution infrastructure looked like. Is the grid reliable and interconnected? And how updated is China's grid infrastructure?
How updated is China's transmission grid? We've talked a lot about energy sources. What about transmission? What needs to happen to transmission?
Transmission
from China?
From west to east?
Sure, yeah.
So yes, yeah. Because it's a big difference from China to the U.S. So there are just two grid company in China. State grid covers 90% of the area in China, and the South grid company just covers 5 province. South China. 5 province.
State grid and southern grid, just two companies that are in the transmission business in China.
Yeah, but the state grid they cover the 90%.
Right.
90%. So But there is the five bigger electrical power companies, but there is no grid, just the generation, and the state grid just has a grid and distribution system. So this is the bright point is easy to do the electricity transmission from the west area to the east area. So, but there is a better point it's difficult to connect the renewable power connect with the grid. So because as you know, the wind power, so there is about 10 to 15% the wind power give up every year because the grid.
In other words, 10% of the wind power that's produced doesn't actually get used as energy because the transmission system can't accommodate it, right?
Yeah.
Let me just to follow up on that. You made the point that the government is essentially telling Huaneng and other of the big five power companies in China to close down old coal-fired power plants, that Beijing and Shanghai are closing their plants. Yeah. So where is that power going to come from? And I think one of the points you made earlier when we were talking is that China is building much larger, more modern power plants away from China's cities, right, farther west. And that's a transmission issue because that right? And is that proceeding smoothly, or is that a concern?
Yes, but now there are some problems. So maybe the 10-15% of the wind power give up. So because just especially in winter, as you know, the winter maybe to start the coal-fired power plant cogeneration. To supply the heat, so the maybe the grid want to shut down the part of wind power, and to balance the grids. So if the next few years, I think that maybe more and more supercritical power plant built looked in western area, and looked in the mine field.
And near the mines, and then the power is sent by wire to Shanghai and Beijing. Okay, so
the electricity from the north and the west to east.
So three people who have the most important questions in the room that are going to be done in the next 3 minutes. Students get first dibs. If you're a student, raise your hand. No students, please. Maybe you're a student. Go ahead.
Yes. Student.
Excellent.
I'm honest. We all know that China is facing serious environment pollution, and IGCC is a good and high-tech clean energy technology. But as I know that IGCC is not used very broadly. So I want to know, what do you think of the future of IGCC in China?
Okay.
Everyone hear that? IGCC is important, but it isn't very widely used. So what's the future of IGCC in China?
Yes, yeah. So I think the U.S. is paying more attention to the IGCC to build the 5 or 6 demonstration. I know the cold water, Tampa and the Wabash River, and the Panapai. Do you know
different plants in the United States?
Every unit, every plant I have been there, and to learn the construction, commissioning. So, but there is no driven in much more driven. In US or in Europe, so because there is no natural gas.
You're saying there aren't the drivers in the United States that there are, because there's cheap natural gas in the United States, so there's fewer drivers for IGCC?
I think.
You think?
I think, but in China, so I think maybe the IGCC is more important in China for China future. So
And that's why, because China does not have the natural gas supply that the United States does?
Yeah, there is no natural gas, but want to get the natural gas emissions, so the IGCC can meet this need, so requirements. So, but now after the first demonstration, the cost is double or triple of the conventional power plant. So this is difficult to explain. So, but this year and the next year, government to gives a special emission limited in Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou, and this central area. So gives a very low emission limit. So we think this is a very important driving factor to expand the IGCC in China.
One more question. There was a question, sir.
It's on the same point, but I wanted to ask if you could give us some of your guesses as to the economics between IGCC with, let's say, 80% carbon capture from the syngas, as compared to the most efficient pulverized coal-fired supercritical plant with 80% carbon capture from the stack gas. What do you think the economics are of the two?
The economics of IGCC versus the economics of a very efficient pulverized coal plant with CCS.
Okay, very interesting question. So, in China, and the situation is a big difference from China and the U.S. So in China, the IGCC units without the CCS is a double or triple of the ultra supercritical units. But in China, the post combustion from the ultra supercritical units and the pre combustion from the IGCC CO2 capture. So the IGCC pre combustion CO2 capture is maybe half or 1/3 the cost of the post-combustion CO2 capture. So, but the total cost is maybe the USC ultra supercritical plus the CCS is lower than IGCC plus none. So I think that maybe in the future, so the IGCC cost will decrease. So we think that maybe IGCC plus the CCS is more economical.
If you're able to scale up IGCC, it has the potential to be less expensive than other CCS technology. Convention,
Okay.
Great.
Yeah. Besides of the CO2 capture and as IGCC has a near zero emission for the SOx, NOx, and the particle. So and the mercury. So this is so I think that maybe the a good selection for the IGCC with CCS.
Yeah, back to Dr. Xu's point about drivers. So it's those things that cause the hazy skies above Shanghai. Okay, we are out of time. Okay. Thank you all very much for coming, Dr. Xu. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if you